Okay, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Ticker Feed channel. And so, what I want to do is actually break down financial education. This is one of his videos or channels that he has, and he's got above 700,000 subscribers. And so what I want to do as a retail investor, getting information from somebody that knows the market really, really well with 10 plus years, I want to just kind of give feedback on some of the questions that he has or some of the statements that he has. And maybe I can draw up some questions for him. And if he ever hears this video, possibly I can answer or ask some of the questions that many of us are curious. So let's go ahead and get started.
Folks, the million-dollar question in this market is, when will the stock market bottom? And in this video here today,
So the first thing in my thought is, I feel like nobody knows when the stock market is actually going to bottom. I feel like the hedge fund corporations are the ones that have the best idea, as they can move the most money in the market and make it go positive or negative and dictate those trends on a pretty continuous basis. So it should be interesting to see what he has to say, because as you can see, it says when the stock market will bottom, IMO. And he even did this exact same video back March 18th, 2020.
I'm going to tell you exactly when the stock market's going to bottom. I'm going to tell you exactly when I expect this to happen. And I'm going to present the evidence in this video on why I think this is going to transpire like this. And I do not make many short-term predictions around the stock market. As you know, I'm a long-term investor.
He is a long-term investor. Actually, so am I. I've had to go through the ringer to figure that out. I used to do a lot of just single stocks, but now I do single stocks and mutual funds. It's been highly great for me personally. But one thing I want to just point out first of all is, I'm constantly, when I am on this video, I'm trying to read what the whiteboard says. Why does he have it on there? Is it old? Is it previous? But it's on his videos here lately.
And even if I'm wrong, in the end, it really doesn't matter, because I'll still end up making a lot of money in the end, buying great companies that have tremendous futures in front of themselves. But with that being said, I will make a very, very interesting prediction today that's going to shock a lot.
So leave a comment down below if you actually think that it is coming to a bottom, or that we still have the potential partial recession, or is it a full recession, or whatever the case is. Just leave a comment down below. I am pretty curious.
A lot of people, because everybody's wondering, like, are we like a month away from bottoming, like 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years? Like, what's going on?
I can tell you personally, for me, I think about 6 months from now, I honestly believe Q3 really is when things are going to start to uptick, and then we're going to really be in the green. We can only be in this type of environment for so long before it's got to have that positive reinforcement.
Okay. Now, the last time I did one of these videos, when the stock market will bottom, it was March 18th of.
So clearly he's starting off with what's talking about in 2020, which we all know. So I'm actually going to fast forward a little bit just to see what the next breakdown is, and we'll go from there.
A 6 to 7% range, and then a 5 to 6% range. So that's going to be big for the market.
Asset labels serve a great purpose for inventory management.
So yes, we still have the commercial, so let's skip that and keep on going.
The market does not like to see inflation continuing to rise and rise and rise to very, very, very high numbers. It makes the market feel very uncomfortable right now. Okay, so first off here.
So first thing that pops into my mind, if you were looking at that chart, it says CPI, right? And not everybody understands what that is or what they're basing it off of. And so leave a comment down below if you know what CPI stands for.
Second point I want to make here is I watched the Russell very closely with all the other indexes this entire week, essentially.
Now, with the Russell, yes, most people have heard the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, but with the Russell, it's actually small cap. And so, yeah, it's part of the all the same sectors, but it's for the small cap, not large cap or blue chip type companies.
And what I witnessed is the Russell outperformed the indexes almost every single day. And specifically, I watched the Russell versus the NASDAQ. But it outperformed the indexes almost every single day. And this is a great example here on Friday. The Russell was down 1%. Okay, that's small cap stocks. Russell 2000 is small cap stocks.
So I do appreciate that he actually explained that. For the most part, I mean, 50% of the time he does do that. And so that kind of helps, again, as us retail investors that are continuing to learn, gives us a better opportunity to take those skills, learn that knowledge, and then apply it.
While the NASDAQ was down almost 3%, the S&P 500 is down 1.9%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 1.43%, okay? What this means, what you're seeing in front of yourself, and why this matters so much, is when you are in a market that is in a vicious downtrend, the Russell's going to lead you there first usually, and the Russell's going to lead you out of that first, okay? And so if you're seeing the Russell start to outperform, that should give you some comfort that I don't want to say we've already reached the bottom, but you're in a bottoming out process, because the small cap stocks, the more risky stocks, those always get hit first, and the big dog stocks, they get hit last.
Okay, so that's really good information. So what he's saying is when the small caps, the penny stocks, $10 and under type of companies that have a few billion or less than a few billion and a few hundred million, 3, 4, 700 million type of companies. Basically, once they start turning and actually go green on the stock, right? When you start seeing those candlesticks go in a upward trajectory, then we can start to see the more common stocks that are more safe continue to also grow.
And then when you start coming out of a mess, right, a messy stock market, the small cap stocks are the ones that start to go up first and start to outperform first, and then starts to the mids after that. Then after that starts large caps, and then last is the mega caps, okay? And so we're watching ourselves literally just this week start this playing out process where the days that the market was up, the Russell.
Also, notice what I wanted to point out. You see, it's CNBC. You always want to know if you have an opportunity to know what the source is, where are they getting their source. Yes, this individual knows and has great knowledge on what's going on, but there's always a source, a reference. And so where is that coming from? Sometimes I'd like to know, not just know the knowledge, but actually where you're getting this information from.
Russell outperformed to the upside. In the days when the market was down, the Russell didn't do as bad as the other indexes, okay? So that's something very, very important. No one really, it's not that many people pay attention to this, but I think it's extremely important, because if you see every single downturn and almost...
So again, it is good information to know, but let's continue to go forward.
If you do make a move, the market's going to likely move down because of that, right? And there's going to be all these fears around.
So leave a comment down below. Again, I'm not sponsored and I'm not a financial advisor, but Morning Brew is a great resource. Just like I was saying, just literally a few seconds ago, for reference, Morning Brew gives you updated information. If you're familiar with what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, please leave a comment down below, because currently it's a, let's just say the best way is a sticky situation, and you see European companies not wanting to advance against Russia because, from what I understand, 30% of the oil and gas comes from Russia, right? That natural gas. So it's a pretty big deal.
Global disruption, and the oil market's going to continue to spike and things like that. And so if Russia makes a move and they decide to do what some folks expect them to do, then essentially, the market's going to move down short term because of that, right? If they don't make a move within the next couple of weeks, the market will start moving up, and the global oil markets and all those things.
So there you go. That's another topic and another opportunity. You can tell that there is tension between, again, Russia and Ukraine. Oil jumps, that will affect. But if something does take place, it will change the dynamics of the market.
Ever got a shot as a kid, or you're about to get a shot, as a kid, right? I'm sure you had that feeling of like, oh man, I don't want to get this shot. I don't want to be here right now. Like, it's going to hurt a lot. It's like no fun, right? And that's where the market's at right now in regards to the March meeting for the Fed. And everybody's looking at this.
Okay, so he's brought this up before. If you're not sure, they had spoke in January, and it was a pretty big deal. But what he's trying to articulate to us is in March, as you can see, roughly March 15th, 16th, the Fed is going to come back and talk to us if they are going to raise rates. And so That's what he is going to be talking about. So when the stock market will bottom, that is going to dictate some of that information.
Really dictate where the indexes go because they are the biggest of the big stocks. Okay, Meta platform.
Okay, so from this point, let's kind of see what else that they do have going on, if there's anything else, because it looks like he's breaking down some other stocks. Because, for example, with Meta, which was formerly known as Facebook, it had dropped, what was it, 25%. And so clearly he hasn't bought back into it, and he was a big fan. And so that does affect things. And so I'm just going to go and fast forward on that part.
Caps trading extremely cheap on historical norms. That puts us into a situation where essentially small caps and mid caps have to move up. You can only stay cheap and in these valuation ranges for so long. As with on the upside, you can only stay at unsustainably high numbers for so long. A negative.
Okay, so the other thing is too, and we'll round it up, is he'll mention that with options, okay, you've got puts and you've got calls. Calls is predicting that the stock market or that particular stock is going to go up within a certain date, but then there's puts. Well, there's apparently $1 trillion plus on puts, that's trying to dictate again what's going on in the market, and so that's a pretty big deal. So let's see if he covers that any.
Vibe. It's a negative vibe for the entire market, to be quite honest. And it's been a negative vibe for the entire market, and all that stuff is going long gone. Okay, so that's good news. Now, next point I want to make, and I'll tell you exactly when I expect this stock market to bottom, is because there's so much, and I mean so much, to be worried about in the short term, right? The Fed. What's the Fed going to do? How many times are they going to raise rates? And by the way,
so you can see he put it in order. I would say that it does dictate according to the number and steps that he's talked about in this video. So you've got the Feds, you've got Russia and Ukraine with the oil and gas situation, inflation, which fluctuates between 6.5 and 7.3%, depending on what your source is. Again, worker shortage, which to me has actually gotten a lot better compared to when it took place March 2020. And then you've got the blue chip stocks where they are affecting these sectors. So keep that in mind when you are looking at the Dow, or if you're looking at the NASDAQ. Make sure you understand that the Dow itself is going to be made up of 30 companies, and the NASDAQ is made up of 3,000. So when it's green or if it's red, it's based off of an X amount of companies, right? The leading companies in their sectors. So with that being said, though, with the stock market itself, when will it bottom? Leave a comment down below if there's anything that you might think if it is, and if it is, or if it won't. So with that being said, guys, I really do appreciate it, and we'll hear from you later.